A potential record-breaking night was truncated with Sussex Sharks defeating Gloucestershire by just one run on the Duckworth Lewis method as a NatWest T20 Blast started at the Brightside County Ground in Bristol. Michael Klinger won the toss and, with bad weather forecast, decided to field first, with Chris Nash soon exploding into action in the opening over with a couple of boundaries off David Payne. It was the start of an extraordinary record-breaking innings for the visitors. The Sharks gave a T20 debut to 19-year-old Welshman Philip Salt, and he was soon finding the boundary too in a team innings which provided 17 fours and 14 sixes. Before one of those was struck, Nash was dismissed for a 17-ball 30, made in an opening stand of 48 in 4.2 overs, a swing and a miss to Craig Miles ending with his stumps disturbed. Salt was soon to depart too, however. Miles, this time the man with the catch off the bowling of former Sussex spinner Tom Smith. Salt left for 24 as the Sharks made a score of 63 for 2 from their 6 overs of power play. A couple of quiet overs followed before it began to rain sixes, acting captain Ross Taylor using all of his experience to make the most of a short boundary towards the car park. The following over, the 10th, saw the Kiwi clear the rope for a second time off namesake Jack, Sussex reaching a score of 96 for 2 halfway through their innings. This was just the start though. Benny Howell was the next bowler to see a delivery fly into the distance before a man who left home at the end of last season was severely punished. That man was Chris Liddle. His first over went for 10 runs while his second and last was smashed for 25. Taylor now had his range and was producing some magical cricket shots. The short boundary on the leg side far too short for the 32-year-old. In the same over, Ben Brown also went long off his former colleague, the rate now more than 10 per over and with plenty more big hitting to come. Taylor got to his 50 off only 28 balls at the start of over number 14 before Brown produced some extraordinary cricket shots to take his partnership with his acting skipper to 88, made off only 8 overs. That was ended next ball when Cameron Bancroft showed his skills behind the stumps with a very smart stumping off Howell to remove Brown for a 43 which had occupied only 25 deliveries. He left with a total on 150 for 3 in the 14th over. If Gloucestershire thought that the worst had now passed by, they were mistaken. In at 5 was Matt Machin, and his brilliant cameo started with a maximum off Jack Taylor, the score easing to 176 for 3 with 4 overs remaining. Payne came back on to bowl the next over, his last, and it was another from a left-armer to be savaged. Taylor was by now seeing the ball as if it was the size of a planet on a very good batting surface. These 2 maximums were sandwiched by 2 fours, and after a wide he cleared the rope for the 8th and final time as 25 more runs came off a single over. Taylor now rapidly into the 80s and the Sharks with their 200 in the bank, still with 3 overs remaining. The Sharks' previous best T20 total was the 239 for 5 they made at home against Glamorgan back in 2010, and that was now under threat as Machin was the latest man to find clearing the rope as easy as falling off a log. No bowler was safe as the left-hander raced to 31 off just 11 deliveries as he added 69 in 25 balls with his skipper. His next ball though was his last as he picked up Taylor off Howell. He departed with his side in a very strong position on 219 for 4 with 13 balls left in the innings. Craig Cachopa missed out, picking out Hamish Marshall off Miles to the first ball he faced, but Gloucestershire's celebrations were cut short as they were then penalised 6 penalty runs for a slow over rate by umpires Nick Cook and Rob Bailey, and that was to prove crucial. The Sharks entered the final over with 8 needed to record their best ever T20 total, and that was achieved as Taylor ended on a 48-ball 93, his side very pleased no doubt to go off with a score of 242 for 5 under their belt. So Gloucestershire needed a rapid start to their reply, and Marshall supplied that as a dozen runs were taken for the opening over from Danny Briggs. Briggs then made amends with his splendid catch off Ajmal Shahzad as Marshall went for 12, 15 runs on the board at the end of the second over. Klinger was outstanding in Gloucestershire colours in this competition last summer, and with the promised rain falling, he knew that Duckworth Lewis could play a part in the final result. He welcomed Ollie Robinson into the attack with these two back-to-back maximums, and the way this match was going, the record aggregate of runs in a T20 match anywhere in the world of 469 was clearly under threat. Klinger added a third six off Shazad, and his team took 67 runs off their power play, 4 more than their opponents had managed, and with 1 wicket fewer lost. So Briggs came back on, and Gloucestershire moved ahead of the Duckworth Lewis rate, with Ian Cobain joining in the mayhem, the home team making a score of 80 for 1 off 7 overs. But midway through the 8th, with Gloucestershire needing just 1 run to stay ahead, Klinger failed to score off this delivery from Will Beer, and was perhaps surprised to then see the umpires confirm midway through the spinner's over. Off they went, and the rain soon worsened, and that was that for the night. Gloucestershire ended on 83 for 1 from 7.5 overs, just 1 run short of winning this extraordinary match, but it was the Sharks who took the game by 1 run on the DL method. Up next for the Sharks is a home game with Somerset on June the 1st, while Gloucestershire go to Northwood to take on Middlesex a day later.